Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to go over a procedure that I just did on one of my Scions where I changed the clutch coil for the AC compressor. And I had a ton of problems with it, and I'm going to explain it to you, and I want to show you what I did. Okay, so this is the old clutch pulley and the magnetic coil, as you will see in the video of how I check these things all out. And I'm making this video to show you, if you have to do this job, what it entails. I did have a bunch of problems. I bought a used air compressor from a auto salvage yard. I paid $300 for it. It had a good clutch on it. I was able to put that new clutch on to the old engine, old AC compressor. This is the car here, this one. I struggled with it, but I got it. So you don't have to drop the frame or pull the engine to change the clutch coil. I'm sure most people know that. However, I couldn't drop the frame on this car because it was in a flood years ago. I had no knowledge of it until after I bought the car, and so everything underneath the car is corroded, including the AC compressor. So everything broke, and I just had one problem after the other. I finally got it in, and it started working. The air conditioner was working, but the clutch was screeching. And I figured, okay, maybe the clutch coil wasn't installed right, or maybe I did something. But it was working, and the noise was gradually diminishing as the engine ran. But then it shut off, and it stopped working, and it doesn't work anymore. So you can watch the video, maybe learn something from it. Hopefully you will. Maybe you could learn from my mistakes. I'm not sure I made mistakes. It's just I had tough luck. Could not drop the frame on this car because the bolts are rusted in, and I had a breaker bar with an extension on it, and I was loosening the bolts, but I figured this thing's going to break, and if one of those bolts broke, I'd have no car. So I put the bolts back in, or at least tightened them back up, and I tried to modify it in some other way so I could still use the air conditioner, and I got by. But the car still runs. It runs great. Actually, it has 167,000 miles on it, but it just runs great. But to make a long story short, I'm going to have to pull the engine out to change that air conditioner compressor. And then, to make matters worse, my other this is a 2014. I was using this one as a service car for my work, and then I switched everything, all my parts and tools and everything, over to this car, and I started this car up the other day, and it wouldn't start. I had to change the starter. Okay, and I made a video on that. That's on my channel also. But now the engine's making noise, and it sounds like it's a chain, or not necessarily the chain, but one of the guides or glides that keeps the chain taut, or something like that. That's what it sounds like to me. So this engine's going to have to come out to do that. And then I have my other car over there. This is my personal car. I bought this car brand new. It's got 150,000 miles on it, and I love this car, but I'm having problems with this also, and I've been having problems with this car for 3 years. I haven't been able to fix it. So I did a scan. I printed out all the reports. Here are the codes that came up, and look how thick this is. I mean, this is a project. So the status, the current codes, P1585, P1603, P1605, U0129. The rest of these are history, so that means they've been logged in. Here's some more currents. U0123, U0124, has to do with the communication and the yaw rate. History, status, history, and history. So there's 4 codes in here that I have to really check into, and I have to do piece by piece and get around to it. So I have a bunch of projects here in the future, so stick around. Drop me a line if you have any questions about it. See if I can help you out. Alright, enjoy the video. Okay, in this video I am going to attempt to remove the clutch, because I've got in my last video where I replaced the flow sensor, I checked the clutch coil and I didn't get any continuity, so air conditioner is still not working even though the scanner said it was the flow meter. So I'm going to remove the belt and attempt to take that clutch out of there, and we're going to check that and see if that's any good. Okay, so we loosen this up, loosen up this. Now the belt should just slide off. Alright, now that looks like a 10 millimeter. Okay, let me show you what I did here to get that nut loose, because the clutch is turning. I took a pair of channel locks and took off the tensioner right here, give me some room to get in there, and then I took this crowbar between the pulley and I pushed down to put some bite into that pulley, and then I just cracked the bolt like that. That doesn't mean I can get the clutch off, but it's a start. Okay, so there's the bolt. Now let's see what we have to do to get that clutch off. Okay, what I'm going to do now on this compressor, before I replace it or maybe remove the clutch and put it in my car, I am going to test it with this tool and see if the clutch works. Now, this black wire, that black wire powers the clutch from the harness. It's this pin right there. So if you apply 12 volts to that pin, that clutch should engage. And it is. I can hear it. I'm not sure if you can see it moving in, but you can see that moving. The clutch is good. It's working. So now I'm going to put this tool on the car and check, see if that black wire is supplying the clutch with voltage, and we're going to use a back probe to stick up there. So we can use any one of these tools here. This one, I'm looking for a straight one. Here's a straight one. I use this, and we'll apply voltage to that. And if that clutch doesn't engage, then I know the clutch is bad, and we could either change the whole air conditioner, which I don't want to do because it's a lot of work, or I could just remove the clutch and put this clutch in here. I'll reiterate what I said before. I bought this air conditioner compressor from an auto salvage yard. It was 300 bucks. Alright, so let's get under the car and see what we can find. Alright, so I need to ground this tool. This thing does have headlights on it. I'm looking for a good ground. Now, these wires are a little short, so let me figure that out, where we're going to ground this to. They don't give me much room to get in there. Okay, that's the ground, and now we have to see if we can get that probe into that black wire.
Alright, I hope that's in. I don't hear that clutch engaging. I don't hear it. I mean, it's possible that this is not making contact with the terminal, but it's all the way in there. Okay, I'm getting a reading here, 13.2 volts, 12.2 volts. I don't hear anything there. Alright, I'm going to assume that that clutch coil is NG. And so now, what we have to figure out, can we get this clutch off without taking the compressor out? Well, we're going to try, because that will save me a lot of work. Otherwise, we'll have to do what we have to do to get it out of there. I believe you have to drop the frame to do that, but maybe there's another way. We'll figure it out. So I removed the clutch from the air compressor. This went on like this. There's a little spacer behind there, and the way I got it off was I put the bolt back in like this, and I held the clutch coil this up, take the weight off it, and I pounded it with this nylon hammer and loosened it up, and then it came off. So we have to do the same thing for the one in the car, but it comes out. You see that little washer there? The little washer that goes in there. So we're going to put that to the side, and then we have a snap ring tool here. Let's see what we got. We got this one here. We got this one here. Let's try this one. No, we want to open it up. So I got it partially off. There it goes. Okay. So that's next. All right. Okay, here we are. We moved the clutch coil. Here's the clutch coil. It goes on like that, and it's held in by this snap ring. And then this is the pulley, which is held in by this snap ring. So you have to take those off. And here's your other piece here, which has a little washer that goes in here, and that bolt that holds it on. So it wasn't too difficult to take off, but it's going to be more difficult to take it off in the car. So, but before I do that, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on how to check the coil. Now this bolts on, this bracket bolts on right there, and this is your ground wire, and that's your hot lead that energizes the clutch, which is this black wire right there, which is that pin right in there. So just FYI, let's measure the ohms. On this clutch coil, so if you're ever in need of checking it, you'll know what to do. Up. .7 ohms. So there you go. Now I checked the clutch coil in the car, applied 12 volts to it. It did not energize, so I'm assuming we have a bad clutch. And that is going to be our next project, is to get the old clutch, or the clutch off the old compressor. And it's going to be very difficult to get in there. So stand by, we'll see what we can do. Okay, this is difficult to do because there's no room in there. I'm not even sure it could be done, but I'm going to try. Now, I put the bolt back in and used a punch and a hammer to create a bit of a vibration there. Hopefully loosen up any rust or whatever's in there. And that's the easy part. So now we have to pull this off, and there's nothing to grab it on. So I'm using this stainless steel putty knife to push this out and see if I can get a little screwdriver in here and do that all around the whole perimeter of the clutch and see if I can loosen it up. Otherwise, what other choice do we have? Okay, I got the clutch off, or at least I got this front piece off, and it was stuck on there. I'll show you how I got it off. I drilled two 7/32 holes, and I tapped it. You can see my tap broke off in there, but I was able to screw a 1/4 by 20 bolt in there, and as I did, it popped right out. So now what we need to do here is get that snap ring off. I got it started. You can see it right there. I don't have a really good snap ring pliers, but I ordered some new ones. They're coming tomorrow. But anyway, let's see if I can get this thing to stay up by itself. I can get in there. Right, I got it out. There it is. Funny looking snap ring. So now that pulley, that's what holds the pulley on. So now we got to get the pulley off, and then there's another snap ring in there to take the clutch, the magnetic clutch off, and then we have to get to the wiring up on the top. You can hear that. Pretty sounds like metal to metal right there. So let me work on that and get back to you as soon as I'm done. Okay, I got the pulley off, and let me show you how I did that after I took that snap ring out of there. When you try to pull the pulley off, if you ever attempt to do this, it's going to hit the frame over here. And I needed a little bit of clearance, so I used this big heavy-duty breaker bar right here just to push the engine over, just a fraction of an inch. You see how it's moving? And that was just enough to allow me to get that pulley off. So now we have to work our way up to the top. There's another snap ring in here, and we're going to take that out. Let's see if we can do that now while we're making video here. We need a little bit of yeah. Why am I thinking that was going to come out easy? Hey, my friends, we got all the parts out here. Here's the magnetic coil, and it's completely rusted out because if you watched any of my previous videos, you'll notice that this car was underwater, unbeknownst to me, and so I had to do a lot of replacing of parts, and I'm still doing it. Car runs great though. So here's the coil, here's the pulley, and here's the other part of the magnet. Okay, now we checked this for continuity. We should have got 4.7 ohms. We didn't get anything. So here's the compressor I bought from the junkyard. Going to take these parts off. I've already had them off and put them on the new compressor, or on the old compressor, and then we'll see if it works. Stand by. Okay, so we got everything off. I just want to clean off some of this crud here, because I don't know if you heard what I said before. This car, in my previous videos, this car was in a flood and it was underwater, and I didn't know that when I bought it because the guy lied to me. But I think it was his loss, because I only paid $6,200 for the car, and it runs great. And I've changed also the rear hubs, the parking brake cables, some brake lines in the back. I have a video on that on my channel. So anyway, we're just moving along here, trying to get everything back together, hoping that this is all I need is a clutch. Even though the summer is just about over, I still need an air conditioner because, you know, sometimes windows get fogged up and you need a little cool dehumidification there. Okay, it's a little better. Let me get a clean this up. Okay, let me finish this and then we'll put the clutch on. Look at that stuff just breaking right off there. It's rust. Now when you put this on, there's a little pin right there that feeds into a slot. That's what keeps it lined up. So you're just going to push this on, and you're going to put your snap ring back on. See, that's rust right there. And that could prevent this thing from seating properly. Okay, that looks pretty good, or as good as it's going to get. Okay, so let's position this. Okay, now here's the coil. I cleaned it up. You can actually see all the copper coils in there creating that magnetic field. Okay, the magnet's on, the clip is in. The next thing we're going to put on is the pulley. Okay, so to get the pulley on, I got this crowbar hooked up because you just need a little bit more room in there to get this in. I used the crowbar to get it out. See, so I just moved the engine from right to left. Like that. Okay, now all we have to do is bang it on. Okay, my friends, we're taking this baby for a ride. I just finished putting the clutch in. I'm checking the temperature here. It's 79 degrees outside. I'm freezing in here. So it's gone down as low as 42. The only thing I haven't shown you was how to connect the wiring harness, which if you check my other videos out, I have a video on a crankcase position sensor harness replace and repair, and you can watch that video and see how I got to it without dropping the subframe or pulling the engine out. Unfortunately, on this car, I'm not going to be able to drop the subframe for any kind of repair. So because of the fact that the bolts are rusted in, and I don't want to cause a worse problem by not being able to use the car. So the car runs great. As I said, it was in a flood. I'm sure it was in a flood, but I don't know for how long, unless some of the metal underneath is really rotted. The backing plates for the brakes I had to replace. I have another video on that, on changing the rear hubs and parking brake cables and some of the brake lines. So you can peruse those videos
get a little bit more insight as to how I made that repair. But right now, the air conditioner, look, it's down to 43, and it's 79 degrees outside. So air conditioner's working. I'm happy. So now I have some other projects on my other Scions we're going to start working on. I was waiting to get this car done first because this is my backup car. In case anything happens to my service car, I have something to use. All right, that's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line, or you can add a comment or something like that. Stay tuned. I'm going to be doing some more critical work on my Scions. I am going to pull the engine out and rebuild it, so we'll have that video to do. Okay, so now we're down to 41. Look at this, 41 degrees. I'm happy. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.